I'm Erin Lucy, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing my mid-year check-in, mid-year freakout tag, and I do not know who originally did this video. I have watched so many in the last couple of weeks, and I just think that they're so fun, and they're also just like a good way to reflect on your own reading so far. So yeah, very exciting. So I had to look real quick because this is going to be through June, although I'm filming this a little bit into July, so I'm gonna have to like back check. So I believe in the first half I read 41 books, which is pretty decent. I set my goal to 80, but we'll see. I do feel like it's been a little bit slower of a reading year for me, and I'm trying in part just like not to put too much pressure on myself. I also have learned I'm very much a mood reader, and I do not really set TBRs too much anymore because it's just like I have a really hard time following it. So I've been able to do it successfully in my little like 5 books in a week because I think it's like short and more manageable in that sense. So yes, anyway, 41 books by the end of June. The first book, or the first question, classic, and I'm actually, for myself, I'm going to break this down. So I'm going to start with first fiction book. This is How You Lose a Time War. I read this just in June and absolutely love it. It's about these 2 agents, red and blue, in this war that spans like time and space. So the setting can be a little bit confusing in the writing too because it spans time and space, so it's not very linear. But I just loved it. The writing was so incredibly beautiful to me. And it's essentially these 2 agents writing back and forth. They're on different sides of the war, but they relate to each other a lot because they're in kind of similar positions. They're both really good at their jobs. And it's so interesting. I loved it so much. The writing felt so very lyrical and just beautiful. And their relationship, oh my God, just like gave me chills the whole time. I could not put it down. It's also like very short. It's just so good. I loved it so much. So really cannot say enough good things. For my second, which will be my nonfiction favorite, because I really don't feel like I can compare fiction and nonfiction. I almost made a third category for like graphic novels or manga. Decided against it because I'm going to talk about my favorite graphic novels in a later question. But definitely Page Boy by Elliot Page. Love a good memoir, and this was just fantastic. It's about Elliot Page's life as a trans man in Hollywood and the struggles and like the challenges that he faced throughout. So challenges, stories, support, all of it. And I just thought it was super fantastic. Written really well. I highly recommend the audiobook. That's how I listened to it. And yeah, just can't say enough good things. So the next question is the best sequel that I've read so far. So this was a little bit hard because I have read actually quite a few series or like continued series. However, I do feel like this became a no-brainer for me, and I know this is not a favorite of everyone's, but I'm gonna go with the 5th Zodiac Academy, so Cursed Fates. And in January I started reading Zodiac Academy. I got so sucked into a hole, like it was hard to do anything else for a little bit. I actually have not completely caught up because eventually I had to just stop and be like, I need to work, I need to do other things. It just sucked me in. I will say it took a little while to get into the series. I feel like really starts to pick up and get good in like book 4, I would say. 5 was so good. I did like 5 and 6. Loved them so much. They're sequels, so I'm not really going to talk about it too much. But it's essentially about this world where everything revolves around the zodiac signs, and I really loved it. I didn't think it was like too cheesy or anything. There is like very much hate to love in this. That's kind of like the main tropes, but I just like love it so much. I love all the characters, the interactions, the banter, and just all of it. I love all the secondary characters too, and they become like more prevalent later in the series, which is I think why I like the later books so much. Yeah, okay, Zodiac Academy. I'll stop with that one. I believe the next question is a new release that I haven't read yet, but want to. There are a lot. There's a lot from this year that I really want to read. Okay. I have one right here with me, Stolen Air by Holly Black. I think this came out in January. Like, I've had this since then, and for some reason just have not picked it up. Really want to. I really love the Cruel Prince series, particularly the last one, The Queen of Nothing, but very excited to read Stolen Air, and don't know why, just have not picked it up yet. Oh, let's just go with all these. I have kind of a lot that I haven't from this category. I have Trust of the Emerald Sea, which is going to be my first Brandon Sanderson. This recently came out. I'm really excited to read this. I felt like it was a really good way for me personally to dip into Brandon Sanderson because I always felt really intimidated. He has so many books, but this felt like super up my alley. So, Trust of the Emerald Sea, and I believe it's about this girl who goes to search for her friend, and she has to like travel the seas in order to find him. In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune, which I lent to my friend, so I don't have with me right now, but I really want to read this. TJ Klune's next book. This one's about this like robot family, and they have a human, and I guess the human finds this other robot, Hap, and that kind of like starts things down an interesting journey. So I would really like to read that. I feel like I can't do this question without mentioning Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. And I feel like I kind of fought this one, but I did get it on Kindle, so I'm gonna read it. I just think that like the premise would not probably draw me in immediately. I'm not a huge dragons person. I'm definitely intrigued, but it would not have been like top of my TBR. But man, has it gone viral, like so crazy viral. I'm still a little nervous because I feel like given how viral it is, and I know myself and how when a book goes really viral, I feel like my expectation gets really high, and I'm really nervous that I'm not gonna love it. It's not gonna live up to that, but we'll see. I don't know if anyone has advice for dealing with that. I would love it, because I feel like when a book is so viral, so talked about, this happened with Colleen Hoover for me, and I don't know, several other books, I just feel like my expectation gets really high, and then it's like almost impossible to live up to, and I have a really hard time curbing my expectations when like I'm constantly seeing it on social media. So that definitely has happened with Fourth Wing. It's just literally everywhere I turn. So my expectation's high, but you know what? Maybe amazing. We'll see. So Fourth Wing. Next is most anticipated read for the rest of the year, and I cannot think of any. I do have some authors that I like have my eye on that are coming out with books, but there was nothing that really stood out to me for this. If I have anything or think of anything while I'm editing this, I will put it here, but as of right now, I can't really think of anything. So a lot of things that I was looking forward to, Emily Henry's book, Ali Hazelwood, they all came out this past few months. So yeah, speaking of that, the next one is Biggest Disappointment. And unfortunately, this one has to go to Happy Place. This is not because this book is bad. I said when I was doing my review of the month, like maybe May or something like that, it's really well written. Emily Henry is very consistent with that. Like, it's great. I really did like the friendships, and I actually enjoyed her bringing those into the story more. So, great writing. I just really want to preface that because it's not a bad book for Biggest Disappointment. There were some really terrible books I read this year, but like I kind of expected them to be bad, so it's kind of a different story. This I really expected to love so much because Book Lovers is like my favorite romance of all time. So my expectation was a little high for different reasons, but what I really struggled with here is that it's really centers around miscommunication, especially over like so many years. And I get that some parts of that were like maybe a little more realistic, but at the same time, communication to me is just so central to relationships, and so I just like don't love that trope, especially in contemporary romance. So I'm really shortening it. I'm trying to make it all not kind of go on a long rant about this one. Again, the writing, so good, always good. I will still always read anything Emily Henry writes. Just this one was a disappointment for me personally. Would definitely recommend if you're into romance still, if you're into Emily Henry. If you don't mind the miscommunication trope, you'll love it. It's good. So, biggest surprise is gonna be Grievers. This one's hard. It's a hard question. I'm not really sure what the intention is here, I'm giving it to this book. This is by Adrienne Marie Brown, and I'm giving it biggest surprise because I had just zero expectation. I'd never heard anything about this book before, and I thought it was really good. And yeah, I was just really impressed by it. It's about this pandemic that is moving through Detroit and kind of how race plays into that and this like urban environment in Detroit. I think I've said when I read this before, but like especially if you've been to Detroit, I don't have any ties to Detroit. I think you would like it even more because there's definitely that like tie to Detroit. But I just thought it was super good. So well written, really interesting, really had me thinking. Yeah, Grievers. Again, not really sure how to take the biggest surprise, but I'm gonna take it as just like biggest surprise to me in terms of a book I read. This one is new favorite author. And this I didn't even have to really think about, although I might have heard of this author before. I started reading these books this year, and that is Tea Dragon Society, or Kay O'Neill. And the Tea Dragon Society, Mothkeeper, cannot tell you how much I love these books. So incredibly wholesome, cute, the art, everything about it, the storylines, it's just like incredible. I'm trying to pull it up. Just like so beautiful. These books are gorgeous. It's so cute. It's about these little tea dragons, which I'm trying to open. Oh, here. I'll open to like some of the tea dragon like pages at the end where it talks about the different tea dragons. It's so fantastic. It's queer. It's just everything. I love it. I just can't stop talking about it and recommending it. So, Kay O'Neill, for sure, favorite author. A book that made you cry. I do have one, and I don't often cry for books. I feel like this one might be a little bit of a surprise because for sure is Kingdom of Ash. I have very rarely like sobbed in a book, and I sobbed. And if you have watched my videos at all, Throne of Glass hasn't been my favorite. I did not like the beginning books. I feel like it's the kind of series I would have loved when I was a teenager, but just was really hard for me to read, especially with the main character as she felt super YA, just like really young and juvenile to me. Anyway, beyond the point though, because by the time I got to the last three, I really loved it. I loved a lot of the other characters, so that made it a lot better for me. And then Kingdom of Ash, there's just this one scene. I will just say that I love Manon so much. If you've read Kingdom of Ash, you definitely know what I'm talking about. I don't think I've ever sobbed to a book so hard. Can't really say too much more because it's the like 7th in a series, but yeah. Okay, book that made you happy. I really didn't want to do any duplicates, but I feel like it has to be Tea Dragon Society. I just like, I don't know, really nothing came close to this, and as far as like making me happy, I feel like this for sure did that. Sorry, I just was like trying to go through my list one more time to see if there's any others that I could like use for this. I feel like I read a lot of like sad books, but for sure Tea Dragon Society. So, the next was film to book or book to film adaptation, like the best you've seen. And I was trying to think, like there is the Queen Charlotte, which absolutely loved that, but it's not really based off of a book, so I'm not going to use it. The only thing I think I've watched that I've also read was Daisy Jones and the Six, and that came out, I believe, in the spring. Hopefully, I'm not imagining that. And there were some things about the ending that I didn't, or not even the ending. There were some things that deviated from the book that I didn't love as far as the relationships go. But overall, I thought the show was really fun. I thought it was fun to watch. Generally, overall enjoyed it. I really liked the music and the clothes. Man, the 70s, like their 70s clothes are just so good. So yes, Daisy Jones and Six. And I read that book like a long time ago. So really long time ago. Like I think almost when it first came out. Anyway. Next question is most beautiful book you've acquired. And I chose 3. Can never choose one. But I have not read any of these. One is Six Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. I'm not even entirely sure what this is about, but I really love the cover. I got this from the book depository before it closed, and I was really intrigued by this cover, which I believe is the UK cover. Same goes for this book, Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, which I actually had an ARC for that was, or had like the digital ARC for this. I have not got to it yet, but I really just like loved this cover so much. This is also the UK version that I got from Book Depository. I actually like the US cover too, but this one just like really spoke to me, so I got that. And then I've already mentioned this book, but Trust of the Emerald Sea is just so pretty. Like, look at this, just so gorgeous, and it has some drawings in it. So I was like, that is definitely on that list of most beautiful books. One more most beautiful book that I actually lent to my mom, and that is The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi, which I have read, and I got the UK version because I just love this cover. I think it is so beautiful. The gold foiling, just beautiful. Okay, so the last question is, what do you need to read by the end of the year? This is tough because I mentioned I'm just like very much a mood reader. I've really learned that about myself. I really can't. I tried to give myself a TBR in 2022, like at the very beginning of the year, and I think I read like one of the books on the list. I just can't. I feel like it almost makes it harder for me to read them, so I kind of backed off doing that for myself. But I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna say I'm keeping it to. I'm actually gonna say 2, and 1 I'm doing that because 1 is War and Peace, and it's just more that like I would really like to finish this by the end of the year. I started it way back at the beginning and hoped to read it throughout and have kind of taken a big hiatus, but I still would really like to read it by the end of the year. I'm trying to read like one of these big classics each year and would really like to finish this. So that's one, would like to get back into reading that. And then the other is Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver, and this is one of the Pulitzer winners from this year. This is actually a gift from my aunt and uncle for my birthday, and my uncle just like loved it, couldn't stop raving about it, so I'm really intrigued. And I had already wanted to read it before then and was really excited, and that just got me even more excited. So I have actually started this one as well, not very far, but I also would really like to read this by the end of the year. It's also pretty long, but yeah, so those are my 2. There's a lot of other books I would put on this list in theory, but again, I'm trying not to do that to myself, trying not to pressure myself to read specific things too much. So yeah, that is my mid-year book check-in, book freak out tag. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.